My name is mbalecha. I belong to the Arts and Entertainment group, and I'm going to be talking about the 50 Shades of Grey. So, pornography. What does it mean to us? We indulge in it secretively, and there are various forms of pornography, but should everything that has sexual content be included in pornographic material? That's a trending argument that's going on with critics today in the literature world because of the 50 Shades of Grey. So throughout the speech, keep in mind one question. What constitutes as pornographic material? I will first be talking about the novel itself, its content and author, the public opinion of it, and the effects of the novel on various different groups. So E.L. James. This wonderful lady was born in London, England. She began her literature work with fan fiction, most notably of Twilight. In fact, the 50 Shades of Grey came from Twilight. If you try and put two and two together, the 50 Shades of Grey is kind of like the Twilight story of this masculine, manly figure of power overtaking this innocent girl who is pretty emotionally distressed. So, her ultimate fantasies are manifested within the 50 Shades of Grey, as she said herself in an MSNBC interview with Gillian Eugenius. She was completely shocked in that interview of the success that the 50 Shades of Grey did. She didn't even think that the book would become a success at all. So the content of the book, Christian Grey here, that manly, masculine figure with all the wealth and the charisma, and he can win any girl over. And then we have a college student, Anastasia Steele, who is so innocent. She's a virgin, and in the book there's a lot of sexual content that I'm not really going to go into because of various reasons. She gets lured by Christian Grey with his charisma and money and power, as he uses that to make her a sexual doll, so to speak. And she goes into the temptation because it's love at first sight. She immediately falls in love with the man, and then she wants to accommodate him to all of his needs, emphasis on all. So, in the United Kingdom, the 50 Shades of Grey blew up in success. It became one of the biggest selling books ever in the history of the United Kingdom. And in the United States, it beat out Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which was the biggest sale in any book up until the 50 Shades of Grey. The success of the 50 Shades of Grey brought positive and negative opinions, such as Adam Sternberg of the New York Times. Adam Sternberg of the New York Times reported that the 50 Shades of Grey is creepy to see on public transportation, such as the subways. If you're in the subway system and you see a woman, which was about 80% of the gender reading the 50 Shades of Grey. If you were to see a person reading that book on the subway, he questioned on his Twitter that it's comparable to seeing a man reading pornographic material on the subway. So Alison Flood of the Guardian News and Media, which is a blog site in the United Kingdom, she reported for Claire Phillipson, director of Wearside Women in Need. Claire Phillipson was outraged at the success of the 50 Shades of Grey. She thought that it was just an icon of domestic violence and abuse that any man can indulge in and learn from. However, behavioral psychologist Joe Hemmings argued that Anastasia Steele and Christian Grey were in a willing relationship with each other. They had love for each other, they were respectful and romantic, but the key word is willing. That they were willing to do all of these sexual acts with each other, that there was no forcing done by Christian Grey upon Anastasia Steele. So the Washington Post then reports about who is actually indulging in the 50 Shades of Grey, which they reported that it was widely accepted by female readers, not male readers, showing positivity in the public opinion. They reported also the argument that librarians should or should not stock the book. In public libraries, there's still an argument going on about whether or not the 50 Shades of Grey should be allowed in public libraries, keyword public. Schools are arguing that it should not be allowed in because it's not...
You need to finish up. You're over 5 minutes.
Okay. The effects that the 50 Shades of Grey had on the youth was Reverend Dr. Peter Mullen of the Telegraph in the United Kingdom said that it should be allowed to be read by our youth up to the ages of 14, not because of its sexual material, but because of the fact that it's a literature work. But then he contradicts his own statement by saying that it should not be read, not because of the strong sexual content, but because of how poorly written it is. Although it is not strictly pornographic material, it is a literature work, but it's also a crappy literature work. And you would actually diverge from the English language by reading the book, as it's stated by him. The effects on the economy are pretty obvious, stated by Bruce Watson of Daily Finance, that it had a huge boom in purchases at Barnes & Noble's. It nearly saved Barnes & Noble's from becoming an economic crisis, and it opened a wide variety of 50 Shades of Grey merchandise, which helped a lot of small stores. The effects of 50 Shades of Grey on us, as regular college students and citizens, in our relationships. Tony Jones of Daily Mail reported that 79% of women find dominance a turn-on, that 90% of men find submissive women a turn-on, that 43% will now use handcuffs in their sexual relationships after reading the 50 Shades of Grey, and that 47% after reading the 50 Shades of Grey want to experiment with blindfolds and bondage. So in conclusion, what is pornographic material? After seeing the success of such a book, is pornographic material anything that has sexual content in it? Or is pornographic material strictly what we secretly indulge in? Should pornographic material ever be included in literature work, or should it just be left alone to its own category, and these works of arts done by innocent authors should just be left to theirs? Thank you. My name is m.Balecha, Arts and Entertainment Group, and this was my informative speech.
Michael, I'm really sorry.